Hi everyone, and welcome to another Western Tabletop review for our channel. Today we're actually going to be looking at 148 Fantasy, the Rift War, and this is actually the card game version. I've got Jacob with me, who I've run quickly through a demo of the game, and we're going to get straight into it. The Rift War is it's a fantastic narrative setting with RPG elements. All the different areas and side decks that you play through are related to the maps and the missions, so you can have a really good story element running through. Lots of sequential play. The replayability of this game in particular is very, very high. There's lots of different heroes, lots of different side quests, missions, adventures, and things that you do. You also have to fight against your opponent, but also work with them at the same time. A very interesting mechanic, which you'll see as we get into the video. Other than that, we hope you enjoy it.
So what we've got set up here is the 148 Rift War, Fantasy Rift War set up for what you'll need on your board. So this is a standard playmat which we've gone and got. And I've just laid out things based on Sven's and Martin's version of the diagram they've got in the book. So on what should be your left-hand side here, we've got our main hero deck, and so this particular deck houses all of the heroes except numbers 1 through 10, because they're the ones that start in your character decks that sit just below it. On the left-hand side of the hero decks and the character decks, you will actually have the discard piles for each of those decks. And as we move along the right, we've got our side quest deck with the coins that will be associated for winning those particular missions, a discard pile for the side quest deck, the expedition deck, the coins and the discard pile, the adventure deck, coins and discard. And then we've got the final encounter deck. We also have the treasure deck and the county deck. So the county deck is the reward for beating multiple final encounters and getting renowned, becoming powerful. And then we've got some extra stuff off the side, our spare action tokens, first player token, and the dice that we'll use when Jacob's beating me to a pulp, basically. And so all of this is set up, ready to go. It's just nice and easily spaced. Fits very nicely on a playmat, which is fantastic. And all your periphery stuff that moves around is not too hard to handle. Essentially, when it talks about the staging area of the game, that's anything that's in play and not in your hand. So anything that's on the table is in play and is therefore in the staging area.
So in this video, for our staging area, will be everything on the gaming mats. If we have things in frame that are our hand, we'll just kind of have them on this purpley background here.
Yeah, so just down the bottom here is probably where a lot of our rewards and money are going to sit, just because we don't have a lot of space this way across the map. Obviously, if you put two playmats together, you're going to have oodles and oodles of space. So this is just on one playmat. So other than that, I've given Jacob a very quick introduction on how to play, and now he's probably going to school me. Okay, so as before, I'll take first player if that's all right, just to start with. So the first thing you do is assign a first player with the first player token, and then we move into the hero phase. So for the hero phase, the top card of the hero deck gets flipped and goes into your discard pile, your character discard pile. So it moves off the hero deck and goes into your hero discard pile. That means that you're going to be able to recruit that hero later on in the turn. But for the moment, you know what it is, can't do anything about it.
Cool.
Each player draws 5 cards, which people watching the video will very quickly realize that they're actually very similar cards. But that's by design. So in the Rift War, your basic party always starts with a hired sword or a shell sword, a wizard's apprentice, a marksman, and a guardsman. And all of those characters, you actually get 2 hired swords and or cell swords. But the reason that it always stays the same is a balance factor. So when you come to fight against someone new on a new deck, on a new setup, a new campaign, or anything like that, everyone starts on the same playing field.
So these are kind of like your basic villages that are formed up to make a party. And they're going to perform quests on the field that basically range from beginner to intermediate to hard.
Yeah, to death.
Yeah. And as they progress with these things, they'll end up gaining experience by getting some extra cards that give them maybe an additional attack or something like that. And as you go through, you'll also be able to draw from this deck at different points where you'll be able to recruit new members. But for the start of the game, both players are given the same starting party.
Yeah. So the symbols and powers of both players are actually the same to start with, and we both get 4 action tokens, which we put just by the mats here.
Yep.
So everyone's characters start the same for both players. We've got our 4 action tokens. So as I've been dedicated as first player, it was really I chose to, but Jacob was very kind.
It's easier on camera.
So I'm going to start. So the way that you start, as long as you have action tokens and characters in your hand, you are able to do an action. The first thing that you need to do after the hero phase, moving into the staging phase, is take any particular card you want to play. In this case, I'm going to choose a guardsman, and it goes down on the play area to start with. Read out any text that you need to for abilities or anything like that. In this case, the guardsman, I can play 1 additional guard from my hand without the assign cost. And the assign cost is an assigned token. So you have to pay 1 for the guard, but if he brings a friend, you don't have to pay for that one.
Yep.
In this instance, I don't have any friends for the guard. He's just on guard duty. So he goes to a side quest. So it's play, assign, and then you can put them onto it.
So Dan's activated a card and assigned them to sort of the basic side quests.
Side quest, yeah.
Now that he's done that, it goes to me, and then I get to choose one of my cards here to assign a token to and decide if I'm going to also go for the side quest, the expedition, and I'm sorry, what's this one called?
This one's called the Adventure Deck.
Adventure Deck. Now, for those watching, this is basically beginner, medium, hard. You kind of want to commit to getting to this stuff a few turns in, whereas you want to get some of these basic quest stones first. So I'm going to put a cell sword. So I've grabbed 1 card from my hand, and I put an activation token to say that he's going to commit to whatever this quest might be later on when we get to that point. Now I've done that, it's on to Dan.
That's right. And so I'm just going to go through and quickly rapid fire out the rest of my actions as quickly as we can, so that we can then get to how you fight out in the mission step, and also then the other decks, what they mean, and hopefully I can hold Jacob to a win or a draw here. So I'm going to put down hired sword with my guardsman at the cost of an action token.
I'll actually commit the Wizard's Apprentice to here. So I've taken the wizard from my hand and put the action token down on the same sort of commitment on the side quests.
Side quests, yep. Now the Wizard's Apprentice actually has a special ability that gives you a bonus action token, which Jacob didn't do, but he knows now.
Yeah. So again, you should be probably reading all the special actions that your cards can do. You'll become quite familiar with what the starting hand can do, but then later on there's all these special cards to have a look at later on.
And the expansion cards that I've got already. There's another expansion also coming in April from S&M Games, which I'm really looking forward to.
Which you should all buy because it has Dan's face on it.
Watch out for Drock, he's a bit of a menace. So I'm going to actually start a second party for the side quest and put another hired sword down. So now that I've allocated a second party, I can't allocate people onto that top party. It has to be now on this second one or subsequent parties. I still can allocate people to the parties up here, but I'm not strong enough to do that, so I'm not going.
Yeah, definitely. So, although Dan has started this, what this is going to mean effectively when we move on to the play, he'll actually be contesting for 2 side objectives. That's his second party. Now, typically, you would hope that 2 people can kind of commit a side objective. So I'm actually going to do quite the same. Very boring on camera that I'm doing something very similar. But I'm putting a cell sword as my second party for a second side quest for later on. Back onto Dan.
And when we're at this point, I'm actually going to hold one of my cards back and not allocate that particular individual, but I will allocate my Wizard Apprentice with my hired sword. So I take an action token from the stack and put that on the card.
And I'll place my guardsman on my second party over here, and we've got back one activation token left.
Yeah, so we have 1 activation token left. It's important to understand that these don't stack up like in one of the other 148 games, like in the miniature game, but also 148 Tactic. The action tokens don't stack. You'll only ever have the 4, so you can't ever cycle.
So there's no banking in this game like the 148 Tactic games, etc.
Yep.
But okay, so Dan's committed to everything he's going to do. This is on the side for a very special reason.
Yes.
And we may as well explain that now.
We should.
We both have a marksman.
Yes.
And it has the ability, you may play this character as a modifier to a battle that might be happening. So you don't actually need to put him in a party to then give the bonus of him providing an
his
extra,
attack power.
Yeah, exactly.
The disadvantage for doing that, whilst it's tactically flexible, once you use him as a modifier, he's defeated and he actually leaves your character deck. You can't normally get him back.
Okay.
So he's like all other bonuses, it's a one-time thing. The benefit is you can hold him back without assigning him, and then you can drop him where he needs to go.
Yep.
Very useful later on.
Yep.
A good one to have in your hand.
So you're going to keep yours back.
I'm going to keep mine back.
I'm going to commit mine, and we'll see the difference.
Yeah, sure.
So you're the first player, so you get the first quest.
I do.
And if Dan can't complete the quest, it goes to me. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So if I can't complete the quest will stay on top of the pile revealed, and the next party that is chosen to explore that deck will actually have to fight that top quest. If, heaven forbid, after 4 parties we can't beat this one quest, it actually stays there until the next turn.
Right.
It doesn't get discarded.
Okay.
It will only get discarded off the top of that pile if neither of us actually assign any players to it in the following turn.
Right.
But as it is, I'm first player, I've got my deck, I've got my startup, so I'm just going to start with the side quest.
Yep. So,
The Scroll of Power.
so to complete the scroll of power, you need to have enough figures that can do 1 melee attack and 1 arrow, or 5 of any type. And if Dan completes these, he gets a reward that is +1 bonus to any type. So it could be a sword, could be an arrow, could be magic.
Yep.
And he'll get to play that when he really needs it.
Yes.
So I would imagine that you can complete this.
I can. So we've also got, as part of the game, as we said earlier, where everything relates to what's going on in the world and the map. So they've all got the really cool flavor text explaining the situation and where you're at. So in this instance, you've come across the Scroll of Power set to enhance anything. I just have to fight off the cave bear. So hopefully my guardsman and a hired sword, the guardsman who I so easily mocked earlier in the game, hopefully they've got enough. Now we can see I have to simply match the number and symbols, 1 sword, 1 bow, and I have 2 swords and 1 bow. So just basic, you just match the 2, and if you equal or greater than the total, you will beat that mission.
And it's a combination of all of their stats. You're not picking just that card's sword or just that card's arrow. It's both
You
of them
total
and
everything.
everything from your party.
Everything that's needed. So if I had magic users, they don't actually help me for the top row of this ability here, because magic
could
is
help
not,
for the bottom.
but they could help for the bottom.
Yep.
So you get one or the other. Once I've beaten it, I flip the markers over to show that that party is activated. I put the reward with that party.
And you get some money.
I get some money. Money's always good. That's my first mission completed. Now turn the play passes to Jacob.
Yep, so then I will pick a side objective, a very basic one. I can either complete it with 1 sword or 2 of anything, and I get a reward of 1 sword. So I've definitely got 1 sword here, so they'll get that. These will swap to the activated side, and I will also get a plan for completing that objective. So again, now I have a reward that I can apply to any of my party members at any point, so that I might need it.
And we should also clarify, at any point means from right now. So if I draw one, for example, now,
And
here we
you
go.
need it.
Oh, look, this is beautiful. So I actually need, for the divine reward, where the Templar of Shire is offering a divine reward for the finding of an ancient relic that has been lost for years. But the total power, so the hand is total power, so it's all symbols, all numbers, is 5. I actually only have total power 3, which you might be able to see on the camera, but it's 1 sword, 1 magic, 1 bow. So that obviously means I'm too short. So what I can do is immediately use this modifier as +1 of any.
To bring you to 4.
To bring me to 4. I have to choose what that is, and it has to match a symbol. So I'm going to choose that to be 1 magic and put that on my Wizard Apprentice by assigning that
So
modifier.
now you're doing 2 magic, 1 sword, 1 arrow, but you need 1
I still
more to
need
get
1
to
more.
5.
And this is where we talked about the marksman before. So I actually will use my marksman in this
So we're
instance.
using the special ability. You may play this character as a modifier, then defeat it.
Yep, and so he's going to go on the cell sword, or the hired sword, sorry, I've got here,
Yep.
as a modifier. Now, even if I had more modifiers, I can't play more modifiers than a one-to-one relationship. It's simply one card is only allowed one modifier. There are actually cards that are not allowed any modifiers,
Yep.
And I think there might be some cards that allow multiple, but they're very few and far between because that's very powerful.
Yep.
Most of the time, it's one-to-one.
So you've completed this objective, so
Yes.
you also get another copper,
Yes.
some more treasure, and now you have an ability that can give you +1 for later.
Yes.
You have lost your marksman as a result, but that's actually kind of an even trade, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. It's sort of I lose the one bow of the marksman
now
down
you
the
have
deck,
+1
but
for
now I get
anything.
+1 anything.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that's like in the cleanup phase and what that marksman actually does different now to the rest of the party.
So Dan's tapped his activation tokens. I'm going to draw mine, and this is a simple 3 of anything gets me a reward of 1 spiritual balance. Much easier to commit to than that one just there. That just happens to be my luck. So I also get a coin, and I flip my tokens over to show that they're activated.
Yep.
And now we've done all parties on the field.
Yes.
So what do we move on to now?
So after we've done the mission phase, now we have the cleanup step.
Yep.
So the cleanup step, the first thing is we take, well, I believe the first thing is we take all of our action tokens
Yep.
and we return them to the pool of action tokens.
Yes.
And then we draw action tokens up
the
to
next
4
turn.
for the next turn.
Yep.
And if you ever have more than 4, and this is why it doesn't stack, you're forced to discard down to the 4 tokens.
So we have our 5 characters put them back in a pile.
So so the characters then get discarded to the character discard pile.
Yep.
So Jacob can freely take all of his and put them in the discard pile.
Yep.
I
And
have to
how
take-
many do we draw?
And we'll get to that.
Yep.
I have to take my maskman and actually defeat him. So he doesn't go into my character discard pile, he goes into the hero discard pile. So I can't get him back normally.
Yeah. Okay. So this is effectively a defeated, a killed pile, etc. Whereas a discard, we'll get to it in a little bit, but it will be an area that you will draw cards from each turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one thing to cover off quickly before we get that. So I still have my divine reward that I have, but I did use the scroll of power.
Yep.
The scroll of power then has to be discarded and defeated to the deck it came from.
Yep, so that's a side objective. It goes next to the side objective pile, and for ease of use, whenever you have these things, all the backing is to know which pile they came from. So that's why we've got 3 discard piles next to each kind of quest type.
Quite logical, very simple, and when you know the speed of what you're doing, it's actually very quick to get those changes happening over. So when we come to after the cleanup step, it's now the draw phase.
Yep.
And the draw phase is essentially you draw 6 cards out of your character draw pile. If you don't have any cards in your character draw pile, like you won't on turn 1, you simply take your discard pile, shuffle it, put it into the draw pile, and then draw your 6 cards.
So you added that card you drew initially.
Yes. So that was a way of easing the pain of losing the marksman, is I actually already got
I
a
got
card,
that back anyway.
but I still only have 5 instead of 6
Yep.
if I chose not to use the marksman.
And I have 5 as well. Sorry, am I the first player now?
And then after the draw phase, it's the end phase where the token first player switches hands.
Okay, so I'm now the first player, which will just mean that I will commit to these actions 1 turn ahead of Dan, effectively.
You'll also get to draw
Draw
your...
1 just like Dan did in the first turn. So there's a city guard, and he's
Oh, city guard.
He's put in the discard pile for the moment, but we may be able to add him in next turn. So importantly, this happens after we do the draw phase.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so you can never under
Discard
normal
one and then put
circumstances
it in.
discard and then pick it up straight away. There are some mechanics that let you do some odd things with the deck, but generally you're going to have to wait that turn to pick it up.
Okay, so
The only thing we didn't cover is if you lose a mission,
Yep.
but we will cover that when we get to these two, the
it's not really
expedition.
a big consequence on the small.
No, but it gets a lot worse as you
Yes.
progress along, so we shall proceed.
Now, we've got some money as well, so there is a treasure pile here. We can actually commit one of our followers to go to the market instead of going into battle, and they can draw 2 cards, and you can see if you can buy those or not, and your opponent can buy the tokens that I can't afford.
Yeah, so when we work through an example with that, it will become a lot clearer how that works. There's a bit of a timing issue there, but the reality is you sacrifice an action token to go to market instead of sending someone to go fight. But either way, we're in the staging phase now, so...
So the staging phase is where I'm committing my troops, which quest, etc.
Yep.
I'll just put a sellsword straight in on the basic side objective.
No worries. Assign the action token.
I'll do that too.
So with my limited number of cards, I actually have to set up for the next turn. So I'm going to allocate my Wizard's Apprentice to the Expedition deck with an action token for free because that's the ability.
I'll put my other sellsword on that objective piece as well, and the expeditions.
And then I'm going to play a hired mercenary.
Okay. Sure. I will do my Wizard's Apprentice, which also gets the free assigned token for being played.
That's the one. I'm going to put the Guardsman out.
Yep.
Now, his ability allows me to bring another Guardsman from my hand. I don't have any other Guardsmen in my hand.
Does a City Guard count as that?
Yeah, so at the top he's got Guard written as his type. So when you get him, you're able to
play one
them.
additional Guard. So it doesn't have to be a Guardsman, it just has to be the type of Guard.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So in the scroll work of the card, you will have types and their classes.
Yeah.
So and when the number is when the name is between 2 dashes, it's a generic type.
Yeah.
And so when a card triggers on that, it triggers on any generic type.
Perfect. So you've committed 3, I've committed 3, so you've got to do your next one. I'm the first player.
You're the first player.
Right. Yes. Silly me. I'll put a guardsman there too. I've got a feeling something's going to happen here.
So I'm actually going to put a hired sword now.
Yep.
Over here.
Yep. And I want to see if I can complete at least something. So I'll put 2 on this side, 3 on there, and we'll see how that plays out.
And then I'm actually going to go back to this party. So you can go back and forth to parties across the decks, but you can't go up and down within the deck.
Multiple parties within the one deck.
Yeah. And this particular card, Robert the Raven, is I have to draw 2 character cards and then discard 1 from my hand. I actually don't have any cards to draw, and I don't have any to shuffle in, so I don't draw anything. I also don't have anything to give up. So it's a neutral
a
trade.
good few turns in, this would really come into play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you might even want to do it to try and get things that are out of your deck.
Yeah, fantastic.
And if we played that wrong, I'm sure Sven will pick me up on it.
Perfect. So, first turn is for me, so I'm going to pick the basic objective. I could decide to pick this one if I wanted to draw it first, but I'm just going to do this now.
Yep.
So, can I complete this with a sword and an arrow? I can definitely do that. So I will win that objective. I will get a piece of coin for that. So I've got a total of 3, and now I have a reward that will give me a +1 sword or a +1 magic that I can assign to anyone at a different point. So those are spent, and now it's on to Dan.
Jacob is very quickly anting up the ability of rewards there against me. So I shall have to. Well, actually, there's not much really I can do about it. That's one thing. I don't have any cards that are going to get rid of those, so I'm just going to have to proceed on with my missions. So I will open up the first expedition.
Ooh, 2 swords, 2 arrows, or 8 of anything to get a reward of +1.
Wow. So this is actually the Mage Bane sword. Its magical properties make it a truly lethal weapon. After a long journey, you come across the mages that guard it. This is actually a modifier that isn't defeated once you use it.
So it's not a one-time use reward.
It's a permanent one.
Permanent stuff.
I can still only use it once per turn, but it is absolutely permanent.
And something to note with these rewards, because it is a +1 sword, you have to commit it to a card that also has swords existing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I do have 2 swords and 3 bows actually in a magic, so I definitely can achieve it. And there's no bonuses to achieving it higher than the power of combined power of 8, so I will just cap that one off.
And you get a silver.
I get a silver.
Yep, so...
Silver is worth 2 copper, and a gold is worth 2 silver. So a gold is actually 4 copper when that conversion goes up.
Right, so I will now draw from this pile, and I think I've got something quite difficult. So I can either commit to 3 swords, I've only got 2 at the moment, and 3 arrows, which I don't have, or I can do 2 swords, which I do have, an arrow, which I do have, and only 1 magic. Let's see if I can boost this in any way that can kind of get this sorted. So I can do 1. I can do 2 magic, which would do it.
You can only do 1 magic.
I can only boost 1 character.
You could. So you only have 1 character with magic, so you
Yep.
can only assign 1 magic bonus.
Yep. So I can't spend 2 reward cards to do.
Not the same.
Yep. Okay. So is there any match that can do this? Because I probably can't.
Have you got? You've got swords and a bow.
I've got no ways to boost the bow significantly to 3.
You could. Well, so interestingly, he could actually ask me to help him.
Ah.
Jacob could ask me to help him because I have a +1 any, and so I could give him a bow.
And why would you want to help me? Is that because we could party together and do some more delicious treasures later
Well,
on?
we're definitely going to have to work together on those, but I was just looking at what the bonus is, and the bonus is draw 3 cards.
Choose 1 and put the rest on top of the hero deck in any order.
And so that's quite nice, but it's not something I'm desperately after. So I'm probably going to let him just suffer and fail this one.
Okay, so this is actually good because now we can have a look at the penalty of me not completing this. So I failed this.
Yes.
What happens now? So obviously I don't get the reward. I don't get the money.
No.
But what else happens to my party here that is...
So when you fail with an admission deck, there are certain negative. Essentially, you failed. Something bad happens.
Yep.
So for side quests, it's nothing bad. Like you can throw it off. Your party recovers easily enough. It's not a big deal. For an expedition, you get the -1 hand size. So we've got cards to represent that from the Kickstarter, which are -1 and -2 for the hand size respectively. So Jacob would have to assign that onto his character draw deck. So when you go to draw cards, you simply draw -1 of what the hand size would be. So instead of drawing up to 6, you draw up to 5.
Cool, I'm just going to put this in place so we remember it when we get to that. So that's happened, and that's as far as the penalties go for this type of objective. So this one wouldn't have a negative to hand size.
No.
This one does, but there's even worse things that happen here.
Yeah. So when you get to an adventure and you fail an adventure, you actually lose 1 random character to the hero discard pile as they've essentially been killed off.
Yep.
And that can also, when you fight the other player on these decks, because they're harder and you have to work together with your opponent, when you fight against each other, when you essentially draw, you're going to have more characters that are killed as the bloodbath gets pretty grisly. In a final encounter, if you fail a final encounter, your entire party's dead. There's no return, do not pass go, do not collect $200, dead.
That is going to be hard to recover from.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've done everything in this sort of step here. Oh yes, you still have to do your
I still have to do mine.
Alright.
Putting 1 character at it is a bit risky.
Are you? Oh! No, you're not going to get it, are you? Unless you commit one of these in.
Yeah. I actually will commit my reward. So it's 2 bows or 3 total power, and I have 1 bow or 2 total power. So I arguably can't do it either which way. What I am actually going to do is use my reward that I got from the expedition
And give
this guy a +1. Because it doesn't get defeated, I won't lose that reward.
It's a permanent
reward.
Beautiful.
So it's a wonderful one to have at the beginning. So he will actually be able to complete that, which means that when I can, I'll be able to use the reward, which is gaining an assign token.
So
this is a very powerful ability because it's essentially either another free character onto the table, or it's a free market run, or anything else that needs an assign token.
So we're running out of copper coins here, so you might want to convert that to a 2 and a 1 there for completing this.
Yep. That was the one from earlier. At which point, now we're done.
Yep.
So we
grab
go.
our tokens.
Yep. Go into cleanup.
Put these over the side.
Put them.
I
Take
rotate this to Dan.
back. That one happens at the end.
Yep. After we do our draw.
Yep. Shuffle for putting them in the draw pile.
So
We'll draw, but you now only draw to 5,
I only draw the 5.
including whatever was in your
And
hand.
I'm putting this guy in.
He still goes in.
Yeah, he goes in now, and now I'm drawing a 5. But normally I draw 6. Is that
Normally you
right?
draw 6. Yep.
But we started with parties of 5, which is where you would have seen us drawing 5 to begin with.
That's
but
right.
these grow over time.
They grow over time. Yeah.
But yeah, I can only put in 5 dudes.
And then I will take first player, and we're going to try and ramp things up a little bit and go for. So one of the things we haven't talked about really is the purpose and how you win this game. You win by completing adventures. Adventures are worth victory points, 1 victory point per adventure card. We're actually going to play to 2 adventures, which is a quicker game, but it's also a little bit more ruthless because the first player to get to 2 is just going to win.
Yep.
We might do a final encounter after that, depending on what cards we've got in the decks, which might be funny. So, it'd be good for the video.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we will continue on.
So you, Dan?
So, hero phase, discard, Erland the Opportunist. He's a very cool card.
Ooh,
He basically allows me to summon a zombified warrior from the deck.
that'd be handy.
Yeah, someone has to die first, though,
Yeah.
of course. You don't get zombies for free.
So is this one still in play?
Yes, it is.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because we know what we need to complete this to send another party to do it.
That is right. That is
Yeah.
right. We do. And because I'm first player, I'll get the first crack at it.
Yep.
So,
But if you don't commit anything, then I could go for it.
yes.
Yeah.
Or if I
But why
fail.
would you?
So,
It'd be embarrassing to fail on that if you know what you need to achieve.
there is a ploy around it, to be honest, but yes. So I'm going to put the hired sword down, first of all.
Okay.
And then I'm going to actually trigger my reward to gain an assigned token.
Yep. And does he still have the sword from last time?
No.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll be able to
You can-
reapply that
you can
sword
give
wherever.
it to another party member.
Yep. Yeah, as long as they have a sword to give it.
Yep.
And the reason I'm gaining that assigned token is I'm going to use it to go to market.
Oh.
So that one is turfed, and we have 1 and 2. So this is where the cost is.
Yep.
This tells you it's a name, where it's found, whether it's a modifier or anything else. A really cool picture, some really cool text, the
What
power of
status?
the item. So
You can afford both, can't you?
I can afford both. I'm only allowed to buy one.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to choose the more expensive one.
Oh, lovely.
It's
It gives
not
you the
because
better
it's got
stats.
2, or yeah, it's totally because it's better.
Sure.
What happens now is after I purchase that one, so let me front up my copper for that. That comes down here with the rest of my stuff. Jacob now gets the choice to buy the short bow,
I'll spend a copper and buy that.
which at this point, as if you've got the money, you should buy it.
Yep.
Now, technically, I could actually go to market again. I've got 3 more tokens, so I can go again and again and again until I decide to stop or have no money. There's no point going to market if you don't have money.
Yep.
But I'm just going to choose to hold there, and I'll pass the turn back to Jacob.
Yep. Okay. For deciding to go to market.
No. It's for
Oh yes, you've played a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've played a guy. Right.
yeah. So that was the timing thing I was talking about before.
Sure. I'll do the free assigned token with the Wizard's Apprentice over here.
All right. So I'm going to play Guardsman.
Yep. Just gonna load. I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to place a guardsman here, which allows me to place another guardsman. because I have. You may play an additional card from your hand at no ignoring the cost.
Nice.
And I'm going to go for another party here. So I'm on the back foot. I kind of want to get some more things happening here and then commit to this probably the next turn. Maybe I shouldn't announce that to you, but whatever.
Technically, you don't have to, but I agree with your logic. I think that's a great thing. I'm going to put my Wizard Apprentice down here.
Yep.
Take a free one from the assign.
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to put a sellsword here.
Okay, changing your mind?
I've changed my mind. He's got 3, so he
does.
might
He
actually
does.
be able to do this on his own.
He's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a hired sword with my Wizard Apprentice.
Yeah. And I'm going to put my other one here.
Fantastic. And then my last one is again Robert the Raven,
Yeah.
who I shall, again, I can't draw anything, I have nothing to discard. We will correct it if that's wrong later.
Sure. I've used everything that I can.
Fantastic. I would like to do the rescue mission, please.
Thank you, because I can't actually complete it.
Well, I did notice that, and
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little generous, but I will
But
do the
yeah,
rescue
that could be
mission.
a tactic. You could commit to this and then kind of force me into a position
Yes.
where I have to do this, and I
Absolutely.
know that I can't do it,
Absolutely right.
and put me more on the back foot.
Well, hopefully you can't do the next one anyway,
Yeah.
and you still get the -1 hand size.
Yeah.
But by the way, once you drew, that was gone.
That guy's
That
gone.
hand size is only for 1 turn, so it's not a cripple,
Yep.
not a crippling effect the whole game. Bonus is draw 3 hero cards.
I think I should have had this guy then.
No, you would have had the -1 for drawing it at the start.
Right.
And then
Cool.
once you had drawn, it then goes off to the side.
Yeah.
So draw 3 hero cards. I get to choose one, and the rest go on top of the deck in any order.
Up top or
That one, I'm sure. And then we're gonna do. Oh, okay. I have to do it that way.
So they go on top, not below.
Yeah, on top in any order that I want. So I get to keep one, and I get to set the order of the next 2.
Yeah.
And they're all flipped now.
Yep. So it's on to me to try an objective.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Let's see what.
Oh,
what
he's gonna go
happens
for
here.
it.
Okay. Quite difficult because there's no magic and there's no 9. Despite what I can do here, because there's no magic and there's so few of them, I'm never gonna get to 9.
No, that unfortunately the fighting
Yeah.
pits of Barakar were not kind to you.
No.
Yeah, you're
So-
gonna lose that one.
We get spent again. I don't win this.
No.
It's still in play,
It's still in play.
and I get the -1 again.
Yes.
Right. On to you.
Yep, it's all good. So I'll go straight to this side quest here. 2 sword and 3 bow, or 2 magic. So I'm actually going to, what's the reward? Your opponent must defeat a character from the staging area.
Whoa, that's pretty nasty. Playing dirty.
I kind of don't want you to have that.
Yes. So, you go for it.
So I've got to go
use
for it.
Yeah.
So I will use the divine reward
Cool.
to get the +1 magic on my Wizard Apprentice.
So you can
So I
successfully
can
pass
get
that.
double magic.
And you're going to play that when?
It's a reward, so I can play it
So you're
whenever
going
I
to wait
want.
when I absolutely need it.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. So,
The Rift War is nothing but bloody.
I've got this one. It's a sword and a bow of 4. I don't have bows.
no.
So,
The good news is your city guard is able to tackle that one if you
yep.
want to let it go for those.
So there's no way I can really boost this to a significant way. I could
You actually could.
I probably could.
You could, because you only have to get to 4 total power, so you could use a magic buff and a sword buff.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
I
whether
could
you want
also
to.
pass it on this guy.
Yes, you could just
So
pass it on
I'll
the
move
next
it
guy.
to the next one. You've done your
I've done my
activations here,
actions.
so it's back to me, and now I can actually compete for this.
Yes.
Are you going to stop it?
No.
Okay, so I get my little ability here, and I get my 1 copper,
Excellent.
and that's it.
All right. So now we go into the cleanup phase.
Yep. Tokens over there. Characters together.
Keep that money separate from my money because otherwise I will bring it on. Now again, we're a little bit lower in copper, so I'm just going to do some swapping out conversions. 2 copper for 1 silver, put the copper back.
Yep.
2 silver for 1 gold.
Right.
So just trying to refill those piles. That was a bonus, so that's done.
Yep.
I get to keep these into my discard pile.
Okay.
Alright, so I've got 1 card.
Yep.
We're going to have to draw, so I have to shuffle all of my other cards. And then draw up to 6. I've got 1, so I draw 5. 1, 2, 3,
I only
4,
have
5.
6, but I have a -1, so I'm drawing these at random for 5. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So who didn't get drawn? The Whistler's Apprentice.
So technically, that's face down.
Right. Okay.
Because
then you wouldn't know what I do and
that's
don't
right.
have. Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and it's more that you don't know what you have in your character deck. So as your deck gets larger, you'll end up with more characters that are in it.
Yeah,
and the
okay.
idea is that it's a secret deck, but you know roughly what's in the character deck, but not the position. Like most card games, that's all. So now that you've drawn, that goes away. Jacob just became the first player.
Grab my little tokens there.
We've just done our
I've done
refresh.
my 5 draw. 1 was discarded because I had the -1 hand size, but let's move on. Are we going to market? I don't really have much money, so I'm not going to send anybody. How about you?
So going to market is something. So as part of your first phase, it actually starts in the staging phase where it's about putting your characters on the play and against the mission.
So that's a decision as you're placing the guy down.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can choose if I want to go to market or not as I'm putting the stuff down.
Yep. So I'm just having a look at certain things. I'm just going to place this marksman over here.
Okay, yep.
Right?
Alright. I'm going to put one of my new cards down,
Okay.
which I hadn't known about or seen. This is Serena the Scout. If defeated, Serena the Scout is defeated to your character discard pile, so she never actually gets defeated to the hero pile. So she does exactly what it says on the card, which is a scout.
That's really good.
So she's not, if she can't spot it, then it is a mistake, is the quote. So that's kind of cool. But I'm going to allocate her to the adventure deck.
Whoa. Really going for it now. Interestingly enough, I will also go to the adventure deck. Sorry, I forgot to put a token here. But, I'll go with a guardsman who brings a free guardsman. So that spends 1 token to do that. And we'll go over the adventure deck there.
Alright. I'm going to put down a hired sword.
Right. I'll put a self sword in there as well.
And then I'm going to put down a hired sword against the fighting pits.
And I'm just going to keep banking on this, and that's everything that I've got.
Jacob is going to destroy me after all. And then I'm going to put down Erland Opportunist. Now his ability is actually passive in the card game. And it allows me to replace a defeated character with Zombified Warrior from the hero deck if able. So if somehow I do lose a character in the fight that's going to end my card, I can potentially replace that with Zombified Warrior if it isn't Serena. So that's pretty cool. I'd say it's a lot cool actually. So you're done with tokens, I'm done with tokens. Alright, so we're into the mission phase. Where would you like to start, Jacob?
I'll just start with the basic one. So, 1 sword, I can't pass it. I could give you that 2.
I was going to say.
So draw a card from your character deck, which is this one, right?
Yep.
And then discard 1 from my hand. So, but I would play that later.
Yes, it's a reward, so you don't have to do it straight away.
Yeah,
So
okay. Yeah, I've got a lot of this stuff, so I might actually.
I think you need to start using them.
I'll give him a bow.
Yep.
So I'll win that, and I'll get a copy.
That's right. We'll move the bow at the end in the cleanup. All right, cool. I'm actually going to trigger the fighting pit.
Okay.
So I've got 2 magic, 1 bow, one sword.
So you need
So I
2
need
more
2
swords.
swords. So I'm actually going to use
Your long
the
sword.
long sword and just go straight in for the win there. And the bonus on that piece, draw a hero card, and you may look at the top. Did you flip a hero card?
No.
From the top of
I
this deck?
completely forgot. Sorry.
That's okay.
So he's out.
He's
visible.
face up in the discard
Okay,
pile.
right. The shaman.
He's pretty amazing actually.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's all done.
he's pretty
You've
good.
won that.
So the only other thing I do is look at the top card of any one deck. These 3 are the ones that count as decks. This is not a deck until it's activated.
Yep. Oh, you are sneaky. If only I could see.
Just don't review the video. All right. Okay. So I know what that is now, but Jacob doesn't know what that is.
And
But I can't do anything about it.
importantly, Dan knows if he can complete it or if I can.
Well, what I will commit to is that we always fight adventures together.
Okay.
So we don't. These ones we fight separately. These ones we fight together. So
Right.
if we beat it together, then we're gonna have a
there's
bit
a
of
fight.
bit of boxing,
For the actual trigger.
and
So,
4 versus like a billion. It's not gonna end well for me. But
Okay.
it's your activation.
so yeah, I mean, this is the only thing I can do. So, a 3
I
sword.
knew what that was. Just saying.
I guess you did. Draw 4 hero cards, keep 2 and give 2 to your opponent. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty good, but you don't get to do that until we beat it.
I understand that, but I think this looks doable.
No, we have no magic.
We have no magic.
We have no magic. So do we have 14 power?
So we'll go with our base stats. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So really, I just need to put in a card if we're alright.
3, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Because my math's terrible. 4, 6,
We're 2 off.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so.
So you're first player, so you get to choose to put up modifiers first.
Sure.
Now we are going to have player on combat,
Yep.
so I will still probably put some modifiers up to save my guys because they're going to get hurt bad.
Okay. So I'll start by giving my guardsman a +1 sword. So that's brought us to 13. And I'm just having a look.
So you do one at a time. So now
Yep,
would actually
now
go
you-
to
yep,
me.
Sure.
So I am actually going to trigger the Mage Bane sword and put that on the hired sword.
Yep.
So so now we are at 14 total power.
Sure. Can I decide to place these in the attacking turn later?
In our attacking player-on-player combat, yes.
Okay, sure. So
we
we've
can't
got.
assign any more to the level now because
But
we've
we've
beat
reached
14.
14, so
Yep.
we'll leave it at that.
Yep.
So we complete this.
Now we're going to fight for it.
Now we're going to fight for who gets the gold and the bonus.
And the victory point,
That's that as well.
which is a big drive. So
So
it's not looking
This
good
is-
for me.
this is when we come to rolling dice.
So what I'm going to do, so you get the opportunity to now play additional rewards. So you've got
And then
3.
you place your reward and back and forth, and then we go to the dice roll.
Yep.
Okay, sure. So I will be rolling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 dice if I don't do anything extra.
Against my 5.
Right. Well, I've got a lot of these cards, so I might as well just add another one. Just for fun. Sure. I'll add another sword in for this city guard.
Sure, okay.
Is this one expired from this round of combat?
It applies for the first round of the combat because
Yep.
it was used to defeat the
Yep.
mission.
So that's
So that's
actually
still
used.
in play.
Oh,
No, it's still in play.
used.
We
Okay.
haven't done the cleanup step, so it's still in play.
Sure. Okay.
I'm actually going to use playing dirty.
So you're gonna get rid of one of my guys.
Your opponent must defeat a character from the staging area if able. Now, you can actually defeat
My
any
marksman.
character you want, but it is going to cost you a character. So I will leverage that.
So the marksman goes in the hero discard. Yep. Sure. And he's both for later. Okay. So now we're on to rolling dice.
We are.
And unforgetful. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 dice.
Let me quickly just double check that maths. 10, yep.
We might need some more dice.
No, we'll do it one at a time.
Sure.
So
Okay. So I'm looking for.
what we'll do is just roll them in the dice tray that I've got off camera.
Right. So in this instance, we're fighting for the reward.
Fighting for the reward.
I'm rolling 10 dice because I have 10 stats overall with all my dice in this party.
Yep.
And I'm looking for 4s and ups. Those will count. And
Yes.
then Dan needs to beat whatever I roll.
Pretty much.
So I think you might be able to do it because
Jacob's rolling is amazingly good for me, but not for him. He's got 2 successes out of 10 dice on 4+.
well, surely that means you only get 1, right?
Not knowing the way that I've just talked this up, I won't get any successes. I've only got 5 dice.
5 dice.
I need to. Ideally, I want 3 successes because then I win, even as the underdog.
If
If we draw,
we go again.
it'll be a bloodbath because we kill one off and roll again.
Yeah.
If I lose, well, you had a lot of dice.
Yeah, I guess I did, but not very many successes.
Oh! I lost. I rolled 1. Jacob's math for
Didn't
once
expect that.
on point.
The only time it ever will be on camera, off camera, at all.
This is good because it's actually much better that when teaching someone how to play, I generally end up winning things like that. So to lose one is actually good. So what happens now? Essentially, you win, so you get the bonus, and you'll get the card, you get the victory point, and you get the gold.
Right. So I have a gold. I have a card. I have a victory point.
Yep.
We'll count that as a gold for now. We know that's money as well.
Generally, when after you resolve that, just flip
Okay.
it upside down, and you can use the
Yeah,
color of the sleeve.
that's a good one.
Yes, they thought of that again. So randomly, and you can just dice this off as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to lose one of those characters. 1.
Yep, so sell sword.
Cell Sword gets defeated. Now, what's great about that is it's going to trigger
Your zombie.
Erland. So Hired Sword is defeated, and I will look for Zombified Warrior.
Yep.
However, we can clean up the rest of it while I do that.
Yeah,
So
it's all tidy.
we're going to go into action tokens phase.
So I lose this. I've spent that. That can go there too.
And actually,
Spent that as well. These go over here.
sorry, we know we're going a bit quick here.
That's alright.
That goes there.
Okay. So I'll let you do your zombie draw, and then I'll do this special ability as well.
That happens immediately,
Oh,
so
okay. So draw 4 cards.
it'll trigger before I do the Zombie
And
Warrior.
I pick 2, and you get the remainder.
Yeah.
Alright.
So first of all, tell me if you have Zombified Warrior in those 4 cards.
No. Alright, I pick 2. Yeah, I pick 2. And then you get 2 nice ones as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like outside of the basic cards, there are a lot of really good cards. There's actually not many cards. In fact, I don't think there's any card that I've picked up and haven't found a use for because of the way that the modifiers and the symbol matching works.
Yeah.
Even zero level statistics. As long as you have a symbol there, you can still
Yeah, you
use
can
it.
still use it. Yeah. So those are your 2 for you.
Thank you, sir. There's Zombified Warrior that's been replaced.
That's a cool looking card.
It's a very cool looking card.
Did he get upgraded in stats? No, about the same.
It was a one sword, one bow to two sword. Now, my understanding currently is that it replaces that defeated character. So the defeated character dies, it replaces it, and then it goes into the discard pile.
Right.
Oh yes. Okay. So we've done the cleanup, we've done the allocations. So I think first player.
So we're going to do a random draw.
One victory point to Jacob.
Finally. And I'll swap that over so I've got a VP.
And while you're doing that, I'm actually just going to...
6.
I'm just going to go straight into my turn. So hero phase. Oh, Natasha the Naughty. She's a ranger, 2. And she allows me to look at the top of the hero deck and choose whether to keep that card there or not. So she's pretty good. She's one of those cards that allows me to get a bit of foresight. Of course, that doesn't help when you can't roll above a 4+.
So I've drawn my 6 randomly. I've got 2 in my pile now, so now my deck is starting to build a bit.
Good. Alright, and then I'm simply going to start with Hatsu the Hunger. I love this card. Undead Ghoul.
Yep.
I cannot be forced to discard any cards. So that's going to save everything of mine that is in the staging area space and give it a bit more resilience and not be bumped out straight away.
Alright.
And I am against the adventure deck.
Sure. And I'll do the guardsman that brings in the free guard. Play that again.
Well, that's a little bit convenient because I'm going to play a city guard who brings in a guard.
Right. I'm going to put in a new guy, Morgan the Wolf. If this character is defeated, each player draws a hero card.
Nice. 2 magic, but a very good return.
Yep.
I'm going to play Daltron the Determined. He's a spell slinger, 1 range, 1 magic. He actually is not allowed to take modifiers though.
Okay. I'll do my free Wizard's Apprentice on this group here, so she gets the free token.
As you can see, I anteed up on the victory points and Jacob has done the same thing. I'm going to Wizard Apprentice on the victory.
Sure, and then with my last remaining tokens, here's 1 for the sellsword, 1 for you.
And then I'm going to trigger Robert the Raven, which he will actually be able to activate this time, of drawing 2 character cards and then discarding 1. So it's basically draw 2, keep 1, which is pretty good considering I had none in the first place. Discard Natasha the Naughty again, ironically.
Okay, and then I'll put my other sellsword here.
Oh, so many heroes! Okay, so as first player, I must go first. I can't do anything else. I will flip the encounter. Adventure, here we go. Oh, 7 swords, 3 bow. Or 1 sword, 4 bow, and 5 magic.
So I've got 4 swords, and I've got enough bows.
I have 4 swords and 5 bows and 3 magic.
Pass it.
So I think we will be able to pass it, and this time I'm going to try and wreak revenge on you.
Right, so now do you want to add any modifiers to you guys?
So I will actually throw my auto +1 sword in, because
sure, why not?
On the guardsman, why not?
Just having a look. Now I see a card I should have used earlier, but that's okay. Alright, I'll use this. No, I should have used that earlier as well, but that's fine. I'll give this guy a +1 magic.
Okay, alright. So I actually have 13 dice after this. So
I think you've got 12 dice in your hand, right?
I do have 12 dice in my hand.
We'll reroll 1, that's fine.
Yeah, they can't all roll 4+, surely.
Maybe I should count what I actually have while you do that.
And
how many passes do you have?
I'll take all the misses out.
Yep.
I'll leave the passes off to the side. Currently I have 5. 6. I got 6 passes.
And I'm rolling 12 dice, which is the
Awesome.
entire. So how many passes did you get? 6.
I got exactly 50%. I want to argue with that, but I
That
can't.
doesn't sound too hard, does it? Alright, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10.
This is fantastic. So that isn't defeated, so that's pulled off. You will
1,
get
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful.
Just a 1 to
Alright,
6?
Cool. Yep, we'll go with that.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. My guardsman, ironically, the guy wielding my Mage Bane sword got owned by a bunch of. Oh, it's okay. None of them are wizards. Yeah. So he is no zombie this time.
So I get a gold. I get the VP. Oh, sorry, I have to look at the bonus.
You do.
So 4 cards, keep 2, just like the same before. So 4 cards. I have a look. I'll keep 2, and I'll give you 2.
Thank goodness we worked together to beat it, because the defeat clause is you and your opponent must defeat 2 characters each from your staging area. So that would have been in addition to the normal one that we lose.
So,
Yeah.
we've got 2 VP on my side.
Oh, nice.
Got some nice characters here.
So we're at a critical point now. So now that you have 2 victory points, and we were playing to 2 victory points,
Yep.
we'll just clean the rest of this up.
Yep.
So they all go there.
All the characters over here.
Yeah, like
Yep,
your
that's spent.
like your army that you sent to attack me. I genuinely thought I was going to win that one.
Yeah, you rolled really well.
I rolled really well,
I didn't think that
and
I
then
was
you rolled better.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it's 50-50s, and Jacob won both of those bouts against victory points by 1 dice.
Yep.
But not much I can do. However, now that you've got 2 victory points, we unlock the final encounter deck.
Beautiful.
So we now reveal what we're going to fight.
Ooh, 17 points. Which
We-
we could probably do with that whole
We have
party.
to assassinate somebody. A high-ranking leader is inspecting the forces in, can't read that upside down, in preparation for a major attack. And we have to take him out.
Yeah.
If we win this, you gain 1 renown. So that's important for all your other campaigns, being able to leverage that to hire people on your party. So we're going to have to go for that. But the thing is, the victory points that we have act as a countdown.
Ooh, so we've got 2 turns to do it.
We have 2 turns, and specifically when this turns over to you,
That's spending 1.
that spends 1 as the first lock.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
so we're going to have this turn, my turn, and then your turn. And if we haven't beat it by the end of your turn, we both
We
lose,
lose it.
regardless.
Right, okay.
Which is
So I need to draw one of these for next time. And then shuffle these up and get 6 cards. Right.
so. This is at this point in the final encounter. This is where things really start to get interesting, because you've already been working up and you're just fighting each other to get the points, and now you have a countdown or you lose by default.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you were winning, it doesn't matter if you were losing. It's like the same choice that's been presented earlier,
Yeah.
but worse.
More severe. Okay.
So
Six.
let's do our best, Jacob.
All right. So,
And the other thing is, when you are the first player and the final encounter is active, you have to allocate at least 2 characters, if able, to that final encounter.
right. So we can't ignore it.
Can't ignore it.
Okay. I'm going to send my Wizard's Apprentice to market because we're going to need to buff up a little
So
bit.
you don't send the Wizard's Apprentice?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. So you use an action token to
Yep.
market.
The free token.
So the
Yep.
free token is, so you still have to spend the token to put the
Yep.
wizard down?
Yep, sure.
Yep.
So I'll have my 4 tokens in my bag, my free token with the wizard.
Yep.
So we're going to market.
But sorry. So
I get my free token when I play her as a figure
Yeah.
later, as
But
a
it's-
card later.
no. So in order to get the free token, she has to be played.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. So I'm using a normal token at the
So
moment.
it's a normal token to get her down.
Yep.
Then she gives you a token back. So
Sure.
that's the free interaction.
Yep.
You still have to put her on an allocated place, and then you can just go to market afterwards. That's fine.
Right. Okay.
But
sure.
you can't trigger it to market and play her later.
Gotcha.
Because it would take one out of your store.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we've got two options here. I may as well buy something.
Ooh. Okay. Quick point of note: blue circled or blue ringed items are enchanted, so they do different things. They do operate as modifiers when you're fighting against a regular deck.
Yeah.
But in player versus player combat,
We're
they
rerolling dice
instead
for
reroll
something.
dice attacks.
Yeah. So I'll buy the Seeker Dart,
Sure.
and you buy the other one, I guess.
I will buy Dart Flinger.
Yep. Cool. All right.
Yeah, sorry, that was more just
Yeah. So
timing
we've
thing.
got that right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Did you want to go to market?
I have to play G. Roy Lincolns, which is play on words, but it's a great one.
Oh, you're going to here and not the final encounter.
Sorry.
Yeah, well,
I'm definitely going the final encounter.
Yeah, we're going all in. Why not?
I'm definitely going the final encounter.
Beautiful. Okay. I'll do the guard ability. Get 2 guards there for 1 token. Going for the final.
I'll play City Guard.
Play a sellsword in the final.
Very glad the opportunist.
Yep. I'll put in the Worgen.
I will then go to market on my last one.
Okay. Ooh. So which one do you want to buy? Well, that's cool because it's got the enchanter.
Yeah, I think I have to go with
Yep,
this one,
sure.
so I'll spend the 2 on that.
Yeah, and I'll spend my gold to get this, and I think I get 1 copper out of that. Thank you. And then
But then I'm out of tokens.
I'll play this shaman, which makes you discard a character from your playing area.
Oh, that's a bit rude.
But don't you have an ability to stop discards? Oh, that guy isn't here
But he's
yet.
in there.
Oh,
I did have that. I did have that. But,
So I'm gonna move these down so we can see all the cards, but we all know they're going for the
that
final
sucks
encounter.
so bad. Okay, it has to be the City Guard then.
Okay.
We're not friends anymore.
No,
It's just discard, right? Not defeat. Discard.
Yeah, discard. Okay, so now we need to count up if we're going to meet these objectives.
Well, you did just strip 2 off of it, so.
Yeah, maybe.
Although
not.
I got some modifiers. I got some power.
So I got 4 swords, and you've got 2, so we can meet the 6
Oh,
before we do any modifiers. For the arrows, I've got 3, so we're good there. And the magic, you've got 2, and I've got 2.
I've got 3. So okay, so we
So
actually.
we can beat
I'm
it
gonna do
without any extras.
Oh, that's nice. When we come to fighting, however, I will put modifiers on my
And
guys.
so will I. Let's put on one of those, and I'll put on. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna boost this guy's magic to no end.
Nope.
Oh yes.
Can only do 1 per 1.
All right. Well, one to the business apprentice over here.
All right.
Okay, so let's count up our dice. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 for me.
Well, I think you should go first then.
Watch me roll 1 dice. So I'm rolling 12 here, and I'll do another 2
We'll do
in a
another
minute.
2 afterwards.
So I'll grab those 2 ones. Okay, so I did roll a few.
That looks like more than a few, Jacob. That looks like 9.
Okay, well you
this
have
is
9 dice.
this is a bit funny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice. Now, I will just quickly check the rules.
If 6s are important.
No. Because I can re-roll attack dice, I
Oh,
need to
I
understand.
haven't done that either.
I need. Really?
I've got 1.
Okay, fine. No.
Okay.
You take that out of my dice tray. This is hilarious. So essentially what I'm looking, we'll clean this up and
Well,
edit.
you destroyed me in the miniatures game, so it's only
Arguably,
fair.
that is true. That is true. I would have preferred it the other way around, to be honest. But, enchanted item. What I'm trying to validate is it simply is it like an exploding reroll, so you get to reroll an additional dice as if it was another attack anyway, or is it reroll for
Reroll
misses?
misses, yeah.
I'm expecting
because
reroll
you got
misses.
2, and that could bring you up to 9 if you get 7 hits.
Because
right?
these are rerolls, so they don't count as a +1 dice.
Oh, okay, right.
So they count as rerolls, and so I'm trying to go, but can I reroll if it was a successful
Well,
attack?
I actually put this in as a +1 dice, so you can take out one of my hits.
That makes it only slightly better. Alright.
Oh, you can take out one of my misses.
Yeah, it's still failed hits, that's fine. I thought it was failed hits.
Yep.
But the reality is, even if I get a 100% hit ratio, I actually can't beat you on that.
Yeah.
So you're going to win the final encounter. Do you want to 4, 5, or 6 and roll off? Oh, let me just see. Let's just see how many I get. 3, 4, 5 with 2 rerolls. I got 4 out of 5 hits in total. But
Which is
it's
a
not
pretty
enough.
good roll.
It's still great. There would have been an extra couple, but not quite enough.
So, we've succeeded in killing the leader. We've done the final encounter.
Yes.
This is the end of this game, isn't it?
This is the end of this game. So it's taken us about an hour and a half or so to get through it, but we obviously explaining at the front end.
But you guys saw, as soon as we moved on to about turn 3, we were getting them done in a couple of minutes. It's just the explanation of what we're doing, why we're doing it, etc. But yeah, I could see this being turned into kind of a filler game that you end at the end of the club. You could probably get this done easily within an hour.
Yeah, and so what technically happens now that you've won a final encounter is you get to keep 2 characters aside from out of your entire character deck, including Narnia.
Yep.
You get to keep 2 of those characters aside from the base characters that you start with, and they start in your character deck at the start of the next game.
Alright, so
I get to choose 1 because I lost, but I also keep the gold and I keep my indestructible magic item.
So I'll take the no. I'll just take a city guard and the priest. So I'll have to remember that that's what I'm including for game 2.
They give us the ability to write it down in the back.
Oh,
so
right, beautiful.
Here's one I did with my wife earlier, but yeah, she actually spanked me pretty good as well. But
Okay.
so we would record the fact that you've got 1 renown, which
Sure.
helps build towards the county. You essentially, as you take it on and you play the narrative mode, that's where the county cards come
So
in.
you got
we would
Pebbleton last time.
Yeah, I got Pebbleton last time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then, do I random draw this or what?
Well, we chose Pebbleton. Where was the final encounter? Sorry.
Oh, right.
Where did that take place?
We fought this in Kania. But it also says the final encounter in Harlington.
It is Harlington. Yeah, there we go. So there's Harlington. So you would get the Harlington County card for winning that final encounter.
Which gives me +1 hand size.
+1 hand size. So you
That's
now have a
awesome.
hand size. Yeah. How great is that?
That
Hand
is
size
great.
of 7. And as you can see, the further you play within these decks, the more of those benefits you get, the more characters you get to keep. You end up building that character deck quite strongly, and then you can branch into whatever you want with the story mode or the narrative, or there's also the conquest mode, so that you own Harlington now. Out of my character deck, once it's built up, I can send a champion to go fight your champion, and if I win, I get Harlington.
That is very cool.
And there's a few other different tweaks you can do, and we can actually go fight in the fighting pits of Barrack Thar with a party and try and fight against the deck. That's very hard to spend.
Thanks for being an excellent opponent, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, so April we've got the new expansion that's going to be coming out. I believe it's the Legendary Heroes expansion as part of that, as well as we might see decks out for some of the more alignment areas that we introduced in the first expansion. I'm really looking forward to it. The replayability is massive, and as you can see, the end game comes down to dice sometimes. It doesn't matter how many odds you stack against it, we're actually pretty close up until that last one.
Yes, that's right. Well, thanks for showing me the second side to Rift War.
Yeah.
This was very interesting. So I've been following this from the 148 tactic sort of viewpoint. I really like that war game.
Yeah.
And I was really excited for the skirmish game
Yes.
that this is designed for. That seemed to be my primary driving force to wanting to try 148.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. This is really cool. This is really cool.
I got to be honest,
Yeah.
I do enjoy the skirmish war games. I do enjoy 148 Tactica. I do enjoy 148 Fantasy, the Rift War, the miniatures game.
Yep.
But I much prefer the card game. And,
Yeah.
and that's not saying that the miniatures game is bad. It's
No.
not. The miniatures game is good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really good. But this is better.
This
is just better.
This is just really interesting, and like I'm making analogies to this to things that you play in a video game RPG. So
Yes.
you're doing like a basic quest, maybe
Yep.
you're doing a dungeon, then you're doing a raid, and it's just getting harder
And
and
then
harder.
you start getting into main quest lines
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that, and it just
you
scales
get,
up.
You're getting the loot like you
Yep.
would in like Diablo or something like that.
And and it's they've only explored so far. It's S&M Games have done. I think there's 12 or so counties plus some farmland.
Yep.
But that's just the top left-hand corner of and this isn't a whole. This isn't like a whole
Yeah.
province. This is just what they've mapped out so far. So. The scale of what they're going to be able to create when they step things through, or the ability for you to narratively approach it and talk about what you're going to do and how you're going to play it is actually really good.
So on this, I just won Arlington
Yes.
in the card game, but you won Pebbleton in
Yep.
the skirmish game. So
They're actually right next to each other.
we're right next to each other.
So,
Fantastic.
so we're gonna have to
But
take that up
this,
again.
This is really cool because we had a card game, and then do we feel like playing a minis game next? Sure.
Yeah, why not?
And then they can count to the same thing. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
They all meet, and it's I can easily see and this is being maybe extrapolating some of the ideas a bit more, but you could easily turn some of this into like a solo play dungeon crawler. They actually have a solo play mode which is very good. It's quite hard. I've played with that a fair bit trying to get around it, and you can get caught out. Sven mentions it one of his videos where he's like, you can obviously at any given point cheat the deck, but there's no real sense of accomplishment in that.
Yeah,
But actually getting it all the way through and fighting off on the final encounter in solo mode is pretty.
I did
pretty
remember that
challenging.
you did say that was quite tough on
Yeah.
one of our original videos. So this was really cool. Thanks for trying something new with us because we typically do the miniatures games on our channel. But if you guys want us to explore card games, you want us to explore board games, any of that kind of stuff, we all love that stuff too.
Yeah.
So please let us know in the comments if this is something that excites you. If you want us to explore something else, just let us know. I really think this would be a really cool thing to check out. And obviously we do a lot of historical stuff.
We do.
And that comes with our sort of background within bolt action. But we're cool for fantasy, we like sci-fi, we explore all gaming. So please, if there's something that you're interested in, let us know.
And I think one of the things that I might be doing myself in for a bit of a trial here, but one of the things that we may do is try and figure out how to run the barrack car fighting pit scenarios.
Right.
Set up like an arena.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah.
I might have to have a bit of a read and think about that. But
well, obviously, there's plenty of this that you can recreate within the war game in the miniatures kind of stuff. So we can have a look at this kind of stuff.
Or
And
vice
see if
versa.
you want to deal with some terrain.
I had like a crazy idea of where you could be playing like the RPG, the miniature game version, and have them go into a tavern and play a card game, which is the Rift War, and play the Rift War in the RPG anyway. But it actually is a lot of fun. The replayability, which is what a lot of card games you want to avoid being low replayability. this is very high. You have multiple sets of heroes. You can't set the deck up generally to give you any sort of guaranteed result. The mission decks are essentially randomized and different every time. It's unlikely that you can plan for the stepped missions that are coming through. You're always going to be fighting against another player. There's co-op modes, there's versus cooperatives. Like, there's a lot of different options on how to play and how to get around it with a little bit of thinking. But thoroughly enjoyed it. Didn't win this one, but
that's okay. We're
all
1 for 1 at this point in time, so that worked out.
And as long as I beat, someone else, I'll feel good.
So thanks for checking in. Thanks for showing us Rift War.
No, you're
Glad we
welcome.
could get it in Australia. Just one more thing I want to reiterate. This is, it's a one package deal. Obviously there's expansions, etc. But you don't need to look at this from the connotations of the big card games that do cost quite a lot of money and investment to get into. There's quite a lot that you can do with what you have with just one set.
So I've got the core set plus one of the expansions. We didn't use most of the expansion cards, but the marketplace deck and the counties were part of that expansion, but they really do enhance the experience of what you're able to achieve within that game. So I can't recall exactly if those are still available after the Kickstarter, but thoroughly recommend in April when they go for the next launch of the expansion pack. Get on board. If it's in your area, or if you like just different approaches to card games, this very much suits in that style of play.
Alright, well thanks for checking in. We'll see you on the next video.
Ciao.